Lafayette, Tennessee, US of A. And we're just very, very pleased to have you here. I have Ronnie here, and Ronnie will tell you who else we got with us next week. Okay, go ahead and tell us who we got.
Next week, we got Jerry Kidd, and that's our truck driver.
Okay, yeah, retired, worn-out truck driver, R.L. Henson. And we're tickled to death to have Jerry and R.L. with us, and as soon as Ronnie gets back, we'll jump into something that maybe might add a little flavor to the program. Jerry, is anything blowing your way?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to mention the fact that we had our first farmers market in downtown Lafayette, started by the incubator program, which is eating up about $500,000 of your tax money.
It's already eaten up that much or more.
Oh, they're eating it up, boy. They're sucking it up like you wouldn't believe. And the guy and they haven't brought any business to the area that we know of. Of course, they're invited to come up here and tell us if they brought any business.
Did you witness the farmer's market today?
I watched it on the internet. They had one vendor, and it was a guy who was wanting to sell canned goods.
Canned goods, that was John.
And I don't know if that was...
Farmer John is his name.
Farmer John,
He's
canned
a good
goods.
guy, okay?
And they had a table set up for free coffee, and I never seen anybody get a cup of free coffee.
Right.
That don't mean they didn't, but I didn't see them do it.
You know, I don't, I'm farmed a good part of my life, okay? I still piddle around with a little bit of animal husbandry. And, I mean, it's okay to have animal husbandry nowadays, I mean,
I've heard your ex-wife talk about
okay,
that.
Yeah.
But,
What animal you were as a husband.
And, I piddle around a little farming, so I'm very, those are my kind of people who farm. But, I don't know any other way to say it. The incubator group that came up to the farmers market are blithering idiots.
How you spell blithering?
Blithering,
How you spell that?
Blithathring.
Okay.
Hey, don't ask
They're
a graduate
They're
of
blithering idiots. First of
1954
all,
No, I want to write it
54
down, I was gonna
graduate.
use it.
of the University of North Carolina how to spell. They know.
first of all,
Blithering.
Blithering, they know how to blither and spell.
First of all, Campbell County is not a farming area, okay? It's got people who live out in the country, but they don't even expect you to keep your goats up, I mean, they expect you to keep your goats up. You can't even let your goats run loose. But basically, Campbell County is not a farming area. It's got right much corn, tobacco going up through
Bob,
the valley, up through the
Bob,
valley.
you need to invoke the 1800 free range laws as they pertain to your
what
goats.
I say, they have a flea market over there, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. There was probably 10 to 15 people sitting up over there selling potted plants, okay? Tomato plants and pepper plants and flowers and things of that nature. Now, that's a tradition there, okay? They had to pay $3 for a 10x10 space, okay? But you had a lot of traffic going through there. Over here on a Saturday, you're not gonna have a whole lot of traffic. And they will never have enough business to justify somebody stay down and look after it.
Did you ever,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
did you ever see that photograph that was taken of downtown Lafayette in 1932?
I think so, it had all the canopies on the,
Cars everywhere. They were double parked, triple parked, people everywhere.
yeah.
There was no depression in Lafayette in 1932. You know, coal here, most wealth here was natural resources, timber, coal, and people were raiding in, people had jobs.
Right. Well, natural resources are your basic. Second is your manufacturing or production of these things. And third is your retail. And fourth is tourism.
That's us, the tourist capital of the world.
The
And
man, I'm afraid our economy is shifting from what you just said to the political class. And they're pulling the rug out from under every category you just mentioned.
sure. Well, even now, the government is making tuition loans cheaper to those who go into government service.
They're making it free.
Huh?
If you'll go into
Yeah.
government service, I believe it's for 10 year,
Right,
it'll be,
right.
forgiven. The whole bill, no matter,
If you,
and
if
they
you
don't
work
ask
for
the
the
amount.
government for 10 years and you get out, that's true. That's very true. They will give
Isn't
you
the
free-
government now the largest
tuition.
employer in the nation?
Absolutely, I'm sure they are. Well, now, whenever you
They-
talk about government, are you talking about local or
I
just the federal
remember
government?
when I was,
Altogether?
When I
Walmart's the largest employer in the free market, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
when I was in Kansas City in 1992, they announced that government employees exceeded, now this is in Kansas City only, government employees exceeded all private employment. And that's what we're reaching everywhere now, I think.
Well, in Campbell County, now I'm reaching way back, I'm gonna say somewhere around 30 years ago, the people who were employed in Campbell County, 52% of the working people of Campbell County worked either directly or indirectly for a government or government agency or whatever, and that would include also Oak Ridge, because Oak Ridge is actually a government entity.
Right.
The,
TVA and
TVA.
Oak Ridge.
right.
Wouldn't you say that would probably be
I s-
true now?
No, I'd say it would be
Our
some-
government employees exceed all private manufacturing or all
Count the
private
ones that
sector
are-
jobs?
You count the ones on assistance, we far exceed.
Far exceed.
The,
I consider myself a government employee, I'm definitely non-profit and I pay taxes.
okay.
Mine is too, I didn't intend it that way, but that's the way it turned out.
Well, fellas, what we've done, we've got away from the free market. Free market is really, it's a survival of the fittest and the smartest and whatever else in free market. And to me, this is where we get into trouble as far as politicians are concerned. Politicians are not required in any means, way whatsoever to produce anything or be right about anything. And they say, well, you can fire them in 4 years. 4 years can wreck any business, just about. In 4 years, you can kill it. But,
We certainly had our share of disappointment over the last 4 years.
well, until we get the gumption and whatever, to go in here and change the rules to where that, and as smart as we are, I know that we can come up with some means by which to measure a politician and fix his compensation according to what he does. And I'm talking, and that's another thing, let me bring this up. I saw a piece in the press says something about the wages and whatever of different assorted things like the county mayor and the county commissioners. And it stated the county commissioners, their salary is somewhere around in excess of $6,000 a year.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now that's not counting their benefits. And this is something, whenever they put these little snippets in the paper, they need to put in everything that they receive. In other words, their insurance or cars or trips or whatever else should be included in this so we know what they're getting paid.
Right.
And to my
And some
opinion,
of the things they get paid not listed.
Yeah,
Well-
some of the things cannot be regulated either.
but still yet they get to pay. And this is another thing, I heard something statement made and a question asked the other day. if county commissioners don't show up for the meetings, and I'm sure it's the same way with the city or anyone else, they get their pay just the same. And that one right there would be very easy to correct. Anybody that doesn't show up should not be paid for being there if they're not there. Now, anybody out here in private business, or at least on the level that I work on, if I don't show up, I don't get paid. And
You know, you stop and think about it, if the only thing you do is go to meetings, that's $500 a trip.
that's $500 a month just to sit. Now, that's just the wages. That's not including the insurance and any other benefits. But I believe the insurance runs somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 a year, I believe.
We all got free insurance now, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We
Then
got,
they-
we
then
got
they get those-
voluntary, yeah,
Then they
right.
get all that money for going to Nashville to be trained on how to tax the public,
Well,
and they get to eat at taxpayers' expense at fancy restaurants where they can order $1,200 plates of steak for one plate.
oh, that's, I get what you're saying.
Well, you know, we have gone through such a change in thinking. You know, teachers nowadays find some way to use up all their sick leave, okay? Whether they're sick or not, they're gonna lay out enough to use up all their sick leave. I can bring up my dad, who went to work for the Southern Railway for the second time in 1919. He worked for him a little bit in 1915, 1916, which was a union company, the Brotherhood of Railroads, which probably eventually was a large part of putting the passenger service and the railroads out of business. But, with that said, my dad was a union man, but he worked 43 years without ever missing a day's work. And he got paid when he was out, but he never missed a day's work. He missed a day. He worked 43 years, he missed a day's work. He didn't go to work, called in sick, and they knew he was dying because he had never missed work in 43 years. Well, that was in 1958, 1959 when he missed that day's work. He retired a few years later after that, but he passed away in 1991. So all he had, he felt real bad, he decided he'd stay home that day, and they really thought that he had passed away because he missed that day's work. But he could have missed days every month. He had so many sick days, but he never did. That's a change in thinking nowadays.
Well, let me go back and add just a little bit to what I just said about city commissioners, county commissioners, anybody that's in a political position. I'd like to find out if any one of them that's ever missed has ever made a refund back. In other words, give the money back that they got paid for not being there. Have you ever heard of such a thing happening?
You know, what we pay them is just a smidgen of what they cost us. Like $5,000 worth of sand running on the lake, by the way.
I understand.
And it's already heading for the lake.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm still looking for that $166,000 a year we're supposed to get from them solar panels. And didn't we dump $1.3 million in the lake on that one?
It's a different lake. I'm talking about the money hole.
Well, me too.
Different money hole.
Big money hole. But they sure look shiny up on top of them school buildings with all them toxic chemicals up there.
Gentlemen, that's another thing, it's like when it comes to energy, and I don't know whether we discussed it last week or when, but I saw a thing the other night, that says about the cost of ethanol. And it takes 1 gallon of regular fuel, diesel fuel, gasoline or whatever, to produce 1.3 gallons of ethanol. But yet, the ethanol does not have we call it measured calories or BTUs. You don't get the power out of a gallon of ethanol that you do a gallon of, we'll call it fossil fuel, but petroleum fuel. So
Natural
actually,
fuel,
natural
natural
fuel.
fuel.
So
God-made fuel.
we'd be probably just as well off. We're just swapping dollar for dollar and coming up a little short in ethanol. It's costing us more to
June.
make it.
Did you get my email about that? 40% of all the corn grown in America right now is going into ethanol?
I believe that's,
40%!
I believe that's law. I believe that's federal law.
Some
Did they have to?
I believe it does. I think Al Gore got this thing passed, and
Oh.
they did it somehow. It was coming up on some kind of an election thing, and this was to get a farmer's vote, to get the farmers, somehow, they pushed this thing through.
Right, well, you can go, to making $8, $9 a bushel for corn, maybe 10, I don't know what it is now. Where prior to ethanol, it was like $2.35, $2.45 a bushel. That's a tremendous, boost for voting, you know.
But I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe that Gore even stated that that wasn't feasible, the ethanol wasn't a feasible thing. He stated that, but he also had enough kahunas to say that the reason he did it was to get the vote.
He wanted Iowa's vote. But now, did you see the thing where everybody's going out of coal business around here, but Germany and China are building new plants every week to go online?
Germany is building something like 28 coal plants, or they've opened up, what was it, 32, and they're planning on 28 in the next few years.
And China's building 1 week or something like that.
As I was building them, faster than we can shut them down.
Well, I picked up somewhere that also a lot of the coal that's being mined in America is being shipped to China.
Sure.
Or China already owns the coal
Yeah.
that's here, the rights to it or whatever.
As
So-
much money as we're borrowing from China and Russia, they're gonna own everything over here before you know it.
Well, I also picked up on to where that, we thought, Japan was buying a lot of real estate in America. And from what I can find out now, China is buying a lot of real estate, but not the country of China. Somehow the individuals are purchasing real estate and letting it aside here.
That's not us,
Now,
Wild Bob Ronnie Show. Hey,
Is this WALF radio station?
yes it is. You just called in to the Wild Bob and Ronnie Show.
I am so.
We would like to know who you want us to insult.
What about in-laws or outlaws?
Okay. Call back. What number did you call on?
562-377757.
Okay, go ahead, call out again. We'll let it ring. Maybe somebody answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you know? Wrong number. 566-1450 or 562-3557 if you West want to call Bob.
Yeah, there you go. We're gonna let it ring just a minute.
she might, okay, they
If
got
she
it.
called,
You got it.
Yeah. 562.
their number back there is 562-1450.
1450, right. But now on the farmer's market, my idea on the farmer's market, if there want to have such a thing, but the paper said he's getting off to a good start on it. Seems to me like that a farmer, one person, seems
What
to me
was he
like,
selling, plants or chickens?
Canned goods.
John.
Really?
Hey,
They don't have
John's
one
down there,
vendor.
Farmer John, he canned corn and everything. He's done it.
why not let the farmers, as much road and highway as we got, let them set up wherever is safe.
Wherever
Along
they
the-
wanna set
Yeah.
up.
If they've got a place, wherever they're is closest and most convenient to them, on the public road or whatever, as long as it's not a traffic hazard or whatever, let them set up right in front of their farm if they want to, or wherever.
Have you ever been over to, the farmer's market in Knoxville? The one they have there in the square or whatever there.
I had been there back in the 1950s, early
They
60s.
have one now. And what they're selling over
There's
there.
a park there now.
They're selling, your really expensive, vegetables that are grown,
Organically.
organically, you know, and, I mean,
Hydroponically.
you go down there and you buy a bunch of, turnip greens. I mean, you pay $4 or $5 for a mess of turnip greens.
Well, I'd rather grow my turnip greens than something besides organic
Well,
material
yeah,
as well.
yeah. Well, and then they got, you know, my daughter won't eat anything but a free-ranging chicken, you know. And I tell her, I said, now, you know what them chickens been pecking in, don't you? So, you know, it's, but they do, you ought to go over there, they got, your, expensive vegetables. Now, that's what they got the idea from over here. But nobody over at the Knoxville market is paying for that produce with food stamps.
I just can't understand why genetically modified groceries are cheaper than naturally grown groceries. It just don't make sense, because these, if you've ever seen these genetically modified farms, the guys wear hazard suits and breathing masks and oxygen masks as they're working the fields.
Well, that's probably because of the,
Why is that cheaper though?
uh-huh.
Why is that cheaper? You know, you'd think our farming now is taking place on a space station
Well,
somewhere.
what you're doing, where you're seeing these guys in these suits is where they're developing the product and they don't want any cross-pollination. After you get the seeds, you don't have to have all that stuff.
All them
You don't-
hazardous chemicals
oh,
too.
No, you don't have to have, look, GMOs that scare people off stuff. We've been genetically modifying stuff ever since they first crossbred a apple seed, maybe before that. And if you can grow it with less fertilizer or less water or less, spray, what's wrong with that? It's gonna be cheaper that way.
I believe what he's trying to say is the corn and some of the other products that they're raising. Now, I don't know whether it's the genetics that they're swapping on it or whether it's chemicals, but I believe it's genetics. And they're genetically modifying it to where that insects will not eat it. Or possibly make it even poisonous to insects, I'm not sure. But it has to do with genetics of it. Well, the problem with this is, to a certain extent, is if it's poisoning the insects, it could be poisoning the bees or anything that consumes anything else if it goes into the food chain. Even if it doesn't go into the food chain, you're taking certain insects and whatever out of the food chain for the other animals, birds, or whatever else.
If they get sick, we got a solution.
Okay.
I think we got a solution. Yeah, wait a minute, we got a
That's
solution
true.
here, where's it at?
5, 4, 4.
You seen the news about the new virus that was brought over here by from the Middle East? MERS, M-E-R-S.
22 employees that we pay for, all of them
Hold
out.
on a minute here. Now, wait a minute. We're gonna do this right. Hold on.
For all of them
Oh,
out.
we can do it right there.
Well, we've been in business here for 75 years. We've got 40 years experience in ambulance service. We have a Class A ambulance service. Almost 22 employees that we pay for, all of them are on. How much taxpayer money goes into this operation? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. We do all kinds of ambulance service. We're graded by the state as a Class A service. We can haul any kind of patients. We can go anywhere. We do a lot of non-emergency transports, nursing homes, hospitals, doctor's offices. We go anywhere that patients want to go. We appreciate the opportunity to serve each and every one of our patients. Anybody, any kind of insurance you have, we're qualified to take it.
If you need medical transport, that's an ambulance. you can't remember that, just call 911 and tell them you want vital care. Works every time. Well, we got that done
I know
right,
it
man.
did.
We need,
I
we
can
need,
attest to that.
we need vital care to go out and pick up about half the candidates for second district commissioners and haul them off to the nearest insane asylum. We've got some of the strangest people running for county commission in the second district
What
I've
is it they
ever.
what is it they
Yeah.
wanting to tax over there, something strange, huh? I think they're wanting to tax.
Tax
Sign said, long-haired freaky people need not
I
apply.
thought that's what I
So I
heard, they
took
wanting
my
to tax.
hair under my hat and I went in to ask him why. He said, you look like a fine, upstanding young man, I think you do. So I took off my hat and said, imagine that, me working for you.
Savings.
You know, taxes has become a tyranny in this nation at every level of government. You know, conservatives really like to say wonderful things about Ronald Reagan, and there were things about Ronald Reagan. I supported him for years, and there was wonderful things that he did. But he crucified us on the cross of taxation. I mean, he came up with more innovative ways to tax people. And if you also recall, they had a reformation where they changed, supposedly improved the tax system. Remember, they were going to make it simpler and easier, and it became so difficult you couldn't do your taxes without a Wall Street lawyer after Reagan got through, or the people under him who did all this in his name. And taxes, Reagan also gave us what was called sin taxes. You know, they sent cigarette taxes through the roof, cigar taxes. They ruined the boat industry, if you recall, with a tax on luxury boats,
That was under Clinton.
yachts. No, that was Reagan. That was Reagan that brought that out. And he also hurt the liquor industry. You know, he taxed, he might not have hurt it much, but he sure made it more expensive.
Shot it to me, didn't he?
Is government interference at any level or in any area never comes up with positive results.
I'm kind of curious about this word you use, sin tax.
Yeah,
Is smoking a sin?
yeah, boy.
Taxes is a sin.
That's what they referred to it under Reagan.
Taxes is a sin.
Well, I was trying to figure out, if is smoking a sin,
That's a
and-
double sin,
well,
tax and smoking.
I thought most of the sins were listed in the Ten Commandments, most of them were. What about lying and cheating and stealing and
Thou shalt not covet. That's the sin of taxation.
this? Well,
Redistributing the wealth.
I see if we're gonna tax sin, and stealing's a sin, why can't we tax these people out here thieving everything? And at what rate?
Well, now, they tried it on drug dealers,
Well-
to get them licensed.
Now, you notice our county commissioner who was busted for having 23 empty cans and one half full can of beer in his possession.
But they didn't find out how much you had in him though, did they?
They let him go with no bond.
How about that?
Now, that don't happen very often. The county commissioners get favored service now at the front of the judge's bench, where you don't have to post a bond to walk scot-free and no jail time or nothing.
I'd say a man that can walk after all that deserves to go free.
Right. Did you see the cartoon in the press?
You mean the
Where he
lake
had it
walk the
before the
press?
judge, and it says, I'm not nearly as think as you thought I was.
Drunk
No.
him?
Yeah.
We make jokes about
He's,
this stuff all the time.
The same commissioner has not showed up to earn his $500 a month since he was busted for the DUI.
They had one meeting, have they?
Two,
Two.
yeah, they had
No,
workshop.
workshop. Hey, I tried, it's just $2.50 a shot, cause you gotta go to workshop.
Yeah,
Now, fellas, if you've got a commercial driver's license, they measure your intoxication different than they do a regular operator's license. And if you get caught out here for DUI, they notify your employer and your insurance company and whatever else. They notify them, certify them, mail or whatever else.
now is this
Now,
caught in your private
if
vehicle
you're caught
or in
anywhere-
your company vehicle?
No, if you get caught driving a commercial vehicle, especially if you've got hazmats or whatever, I don't know how bad, it's up in the untold amount what they can do to you.
Right, but I don't see where, this commissioner has had any repercussions on his, he being a county commissioner from being charged with this offense. But I was coming down Demery Road yesterday and I picked a little kid up, and a smart looking kid. I said, "You not in school?" He said, "No, I graduated last year." I said, "You not working?" He says, "Well, I was up until last week." He said, "I was driving for one of these furniture rental places," and said we were delivering furniture up to close to Oneida, and said I got caught for speeding on that road up there, and they fired me. Well, they fired that kid for speeding, probably 65 or 70 and a 55. Wonder why can't we fire our county commissioner for being drunk?
He wasn't speeding.
Well, I'm sorry about that. But if he had, we ought to got him.
Learn him.
A commercial driver, they're down hard on commercial driver over DUI. What's to keep someone who's driving just a small vehicle that's DUI wrecking a big vehicle? If you let somebody do something in front of you, if you're not really wired up on a commercial vehicle, you'll duck and dodge if you're not real careful. You know what I'm talking about? Your
True,
reflex
yeah.
will kick in, and you could wreck the thing
True.
because of somebody else, a mistake somebody else made.
Right, true.
And then when I say mistake, let's boil that back down to a decision someone else made. And that's the difference. Whenever a person decides to go to drinking, then whenever they decide to do it in a vehicle, they've not made a mistake, they've made a decision. So this is one of the fallacies I see in the way
wait a minute.
Only
Whoa,
a mistake when they get caught, right?
The mistake is when they get caught, that's what I was gonna say. We have a lot of politicians who make the mistake of getting caught.
Well, I agree, but here's what we do. We use that as a weasel word.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
There's very, very few real mistakes. Most of them are decisions. And it don't become a mistake until you see the results of your decision.
Right.
So,
Well, you take it today, I was going down Jacksboro Pike, I was going west, right there at, the stoplight at, Food City, and the Swine Club, they're selling papers. I don't really know that or not. And, the light was green, but there was a car stopped on the left buying a paper. Well, I proceeded on through the intersection, but some young boy driving a Volkswagen van, one of those old dykes, he saw that car stop buying the paper, so he made a left turn in front of me, and he never even saw me coming. He went across the road this way, and I just turned in the service station with him, because I couldn't have stopped, you know. I wouldn't have hit him all that hard, but he come across, I just turned right in the service station with him, you know. And you ought to see the look on his face, you know, because he thought that car stopped by a paper that wasn't nothing else was coming, you know, but he stopped. I wasn't going all that high rate of speed. If I had, I would have plastered him, you know. But,
Did he say anything? Did he say anything?
I just shook my head and shook no, and I went all around through the service station back out. I didn't have time to, sit and palaver, you know.
fellas, another subject that's still in the works is this United Nations Small Arms Treaty. And it's still in the works. It's come up. The United States has signed on to it, or may say the president has signed on to it. And people keep saying it don't mean nothing. If it don't mean nothing, why are we signing on
Why
to
you
it?
got it?
That's right. Why have we got it if it doesn't mean anything? And I've read it, the parts that I can come up with, not the whole text of it, but nowhere in there does it say that our Second Amendment rights. It states something to the extent of whatever the country or whatever rules, but also somewhere in there, and they hide this stuff so well that it's hard to pick it out. But somewhere in there, there's registration. There's gun registration in that thing, in the wording of it. It always gets back to how do you interpret it.
Right.
So, if this is in there, why even have this thing if it's hid in the words?
Can I ask a question? Is this an issue that Bob Corker voted to advance? Our Senator Corker?
Not
That was
sure.
immigration. No, what was it?
What was it?
He voted on the. He voted for the minimum wage to
Yeah.
go to 10.10.
Yeah.
He voted to move it forward, and that's Corker.
Well, folks, I recommend you take a serious look at State Representative Joe Carr, who's running in the primary as a Tea Party conservative candidate against Lamar Alexander. I
Yeah.
highly recommend you take a serious look at Mr. Carr and where he stands on issues as opposed to Lamar Alexander.
I took a serious look at it, and I recommend that you vote for Joe Carr.
I look forward
I
to
can't
somebody.
think, yeah.
I look forward to somebody of some character voting against them and running against them. Well,
Right.
Mom Carter,
I'm
Aflac
going
Duck.
to have black down.
The only, you know, every time Lindsey Graham has got to be one of the dumbest humans on the planet with
No, we're
IQ
paying his
about
salary.
the same level as a pet rock. Every time he calls up the media and says, "Hey, I'm down here for an interview," Bob Corker's standing right behind him first in line.
He's just saying, Aflac, Aflac,
Hey, Blake.
Aflac.
That's ours there.
Talk to him.
Well, Bob and Ronnie,
Hello.
hey,
I guess you scared him off.
well, you know, things have changed. How we doing?
I'm getting that there wire out under the telephone so it quit wiggling.
Okay.
Okay, I can figure out which button you push.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, things have changed so much, but yet, it's kind of like going back to the basics, you know, and I want to commend Barack Obama. He's come up with a brilliant strategy over in the Ukraine. You know, they finally decided that most of the problems we're having over there can be laid at the feet of Vladimir Putin, who is the head of Russia, you know, and he has expansionist problems also. Obama, you have to admire his brilliance. He has figured out a way that if he can get Vladimir Putin to say something disparaging about Al Sharpton, then the only thing he'll have to do is call up and demand that he resign.
Or get him to say anything about a member of the other race, and they don't have to be all that bad either. You just
What we want to do is get the France to come in there and surrender, and we'd know the war was over.
Right.
poor old Clive Bundy. All he said was he thought blacks were better off 200 years ago than they are today,
My basic
and they
thing is that
crucified him for that.
he got right down and said the only thing they'd done is change plantations.
Exactly. And it is a plantation they're on today.
It's just a bigger one and got
It's a
a
big one.
But you know, this plantation here
Got
that
a
we
lot of
live,
white folks there
that
too.
we live on has been the #1 plantation in the world since 1770.
And
And
this,
we're just right at the verge of losing that #1 status because China is going to be a larger economy than we are.
and what about this guy that owns the LA Clippers who was having pillow talk with a girlfriend and she had a hidden tape recorder and all he was doing was telling her that he didn't want her associating with certain people. And it just so happened that those certain people happened to be black. And boy, did he get crucified.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I don't care what he said or who he was or how he done it. It just aggravates me that that's all you can hear for a week. And the whole country's going to hell and we're worried
Yeah.
about
All
that.
you heard, his name was Sterling, and, you know, they banned him from basketball for life.
I feel him at all. I feel him at all.
I like what old Donald Trump said about the whole situation. He said, I don't agree with what the man said, but he's got a girlfriend from hell.
And he knows he's had.
He knows he's that.
Here comes Digger,
He's
fellas.
been there.
Make room for Digger.
Vaughn Digger Wilson.
Told you.
Hey,
Been here off and on for over 30 years in the same spot. Pumping propane, doing repairs on containers, heaters. I'm the only one in the county that'll do you a repair on your tanks if you need it. I sell propane gas, liquid propane, and I've got plenty of competitors, and I can easily compete with them. That's grills, backup heat, substitute heat, grills, campers, motor homes, you name it. And if it comes in through that door, I can take care of it. I'm here Tuesday through Friday, 8 till 5, and Saturday, 8 till 12. They could call me at 562-54.
4-4.
562-54.
4-4.
54-44.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I tell you, and I guarantee you, Charlie Tripp, I come down there one day, and he had been standing in that one spot for 30 years. Hard to get him to move.
We just froze to the ground again.
Good man. Good propane.
Great guy. Weren't they having their,
Yeah, but you know,
weren't they having their newspaper
it's
sale today or something?
asking people to resign, it's worked in every other industry.
Well, they got that Instagram thing to get going, I mean, that their, Twitter campaign against him too.
They're
He's
bombarding him
over
with
with.
tweets now, did you know that? That's the new strategy, we gonna tweet him.
We'll tweet him out of office.
Right.
Digger Wilson.
What's he doing talking?
Been here off and on.
You
I
could-
guess you'll just have to talk.
Right.
He's done,
I
man.
believe you unplugged him.
Yeah,
The, fellows, on our local, I'm not hearing very much comments out of our local politicians that are running for all these 98 offices. I hear a few that are taking a stand, but our county commissioners, has any one of them came out and defended any of his positions or his or her positions, or stated any other ones as far as?
well, they want to, that way you can hold their feet to the fire. If they don't say nothing, that means they ain't no trouble.
Well, the only one of
They're
them.
hiding what they intend to do. They will not come out and publicly say anything because they all want to get elected.
Well, if
They
you
don't
had
want to take a
accomplished, if
position.
you'd accomplished over the last 4 years what that crew down there has accomplished, would you wanna come out and take credit for it?
Absolutely not. Folks, you need to take a serious look at all the incumbents sitting down there, especially the three from Jellicoe, Dumb, Dumber, and Dumbest. Vote them out of there. you know, they got their lips so tight to William Beard's hind end, it'd take a crowbar to pry them
Right.
loose.
Well, now,
You know, they were down campaigning at the flea market this morning. What's his name? Judge, Ayers, is that his name? Joe?
Judge Ayers, yeah.
Okay, Joe
He's their
Ayers.
county
His
session.
mama was down there campaigning this morning, and then Amanda Salmons had somebody down there campaigning for her, you know, she's running against Joe. So I told Joey's mama, I said, you know, I said, the biggest problem I see with Joe is he's too easy, puts everybody on probation, rather put them in jail. And,
Jail's full.
yeah, and,
We can build another one.
Well,
That'd give us,
I'm
what,
sure-
how
I'm
many
sure
we got
what they
now?
gonna do, the first one, when if he gets reelected, that he's gonna arrest will be Amanda Salmons.
I'm taking a serious look at, and listen to Amanda Salmons, Kathy Parrott, and, Joe. I've always got good rulings. I've handled 2 cases in front of Joe Ayers myself. And, of course, I went in with overwhelming evidence both times, and I got a favorable ruling both times. And, I got sued by an ex-wife that went before him, and I had to get a lawyer for that, and I got a favorable ruling. So it's gonna be hard for me to vote against him, but I sure do like this Amanda
Well,
Salmons.
I like old Joe too, but I do think he lets them go too easy. Was that Joe, he went, that Beta went before and got out with no bond?
No, I think we're talking about just,
No,
the
they,
rest one.
you originally go before the sessions judge. He set
Who
your
would he have
bail.
gone before for arraignment?
That'd be,
Well, Well,
now he can kick it up, he can kick it up, can't he, to grand jury or to the criminal court? Come on, criminal, tell us how it
Well, I'm
works.
saying, the county commissioner that got arrested for DUI paid no bond.
Yeah, he walked out scot-free.
if you've got,
Yeah.
if you put up bail, it's my understanding, if you, when the court sets you bail, you have a bail bondsman that has to sign, that you have to go to. Now, used to, you could, sign your own bail. You know, if you're a resident, and whatever else, or you could sign a bond for someone else.
You had to own property,
We
didn't you?
can
Have
now,
money in
if
the
you will
bank.
give them a deed of trust.
Okay, you didn't have to do that a long time
I
ago.
know that.
Because I have, went people's bond or bail to get them out. But if I'm not mistaken now, normally the way it goes, you have to have a bail bondsman, and they keep 10% of whatever you, have to put up.
They
Or whatever
they charge you 10%.
That's correct, they charge you
Yeah.
10%. If,
Well, now, you take in Randolph County, I was faced with either paying $800 for an $8,000 bond.
Right.
Well, I went down to, no, this was on a $25,000 bond. So I went down to the courthouse, and I got everything I needed, and I carried it back up there, and they released that person to me on my own signature,
Yeah,
because of the property I owned, taxes were paid and everything.
but you had to make them a trust deed?
Not there I didn't, but I asked about it here in in Campbell, because
Yeah, okay.
there was a person I know who, he and his wife got in some difficulty. And it was over drugs, and he had married this little girl that my family had known since she was a little bitty thing. She never smoked, she never drank, she had a good job and everything when he met her, and he got her on drugs and everything. So they got arrested, and his mama got him out and left her in there, and they had a small baby. And I felt so bad about that, so we were going down there and to figure to see if we could get her out, you know, because she's the one that ought to have been out, and he ought to have been the one to stay in, you know. And but as it turned out, the judge eventually reduced her bond. One of her relatives put up bond for her.
Well, that's here in Campbell County.
here in
Well, I'm gonna plead with the voters, in the first and third districts to take a serious look at a couple of their candidates. Both have, run the city here for years and years, and our city is in real bad shape economically. We've lost a lot of businesses, we got more empty buildings, and we got, I mean, it's just really tragic what's going on in La Follette. So I really plead with the voters to take a serious look at our ex-mayor Cliff Jennings and our ex-city administrator and ex-county executive David G. Young. We need to take serious looks at these people and what they have done to the county and the city in the past, and do we want more of that done to our county? We just can't have this La Follette Mafia moving to Jacksboro. And of course, up here in La Follette, we'd be glad to get rid of them, but if they take over the county, folks, you're gonna suffer from extreme high tax increases, more debt, more spending,
Sign tax,
and
not
sign-
sin, not
yeah,
sin
not sin
tax.
tax, sign taxes,
That,
dog taxes.
that, we need, to have,
Oh, wait a minute, let me say something before I forget. I've got a red tick hound dog, young male dog.
Blue tick,
No, a red tick.
okay,
You know what a red tick is?
yeah.
Okay, and he's come to my house and he's staying, and he didn't have no collar on, and I'm sure he belongs to somebody. So if you're a coon hunter or know a coon hunter that's lost a dog, get with me. I'd like to give him back to you.
is he partial eating?
Well, he.
Find out if there's a reward for this dog before you give him up.
I've done named him.
A red tick hound like I bring $225.
Well, I done named him Lightning.
Hey, oh no. You remember that guy you had working for you by the name of Lightning?
Yeah, yeah.
That must mean he moves real slow and sleeps all
Well,
day.
he eats a lot too.
Eats a lot.
Well, I want somebody to come get their dog, cause if the owner don't believe him, I'm gonna sell him.
Our
Cheap.
Huh?
Cheap.
Our candidates have, I'm sure they've had plenty of time, county commissioners, to come up with means as to which to raise revenue, if they need the revenue, without raising our taxes. And they've got plenty of time to think about it, and they need to be making it public as to what their positions
Well,
are.
but you know, all money's gotta come from the people. And, so what you're doing, they got plenty of time to think of how to skin the people out of a little bit more money.
Well,
And folks, we have a finance officer, that's got too many employees and too much debt.
There's somebody wanting that dog.
the, that's a,
What, Ronnie? Hey, you looking for a dog?
I don't believe we're using our phone right.
I believe the,
You're pushing the wrong
you're
button.
pushing the wrong button. I believe this right here's the
Yeah,
button.
that's a
you
button
push.
you push up here,
Yeah,
it's got a
that
circle
just
around
goes to
it.
the speaker on and off the
Right.
speaker, and it goes to the line.
Okay.
I believe you got to push the line first and then the speaker.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. The, but anyhow, what I'm saying is, all the politicians out there that are running for these offices, the incumbents should be able to tell us, first of all, the incumbents should have the budget in on time and done before this election. And if they don't, seems to me like right there is good enough reason not to support them.
Vote 'em out.
Each one of them, each one of these county commissioners sit there and say, this will be here. And it goes back to the finance department, right? And they've got to present the budget. And if they don't present it, then I don't see no point. They have the power to make him put it there. If not, they can put pressure on the finance department and tell him whatever.
Folks,
Uh,
Blount County has twice as many people and
Twice
probably
as much.
4 times or 10 times the economy of
Right.
Campbell County. Their finance office only has 4 or 5 people in it. What are we doing with 20 employees in our finance office?
Well, that
You
finance
gotta work
officer,
somewhere.
that finance officer down there does not have as many relatives.
And you know, I've heard, and I would like for an audit to be done on this, that he gets a finder's fee every time our county borrows money from one of these loan companies.
Mentions that, there's a ad in the press, I believe it's the Press or the Journal one time this week, or one or the other this week. The finance department is putting out bids for $100,000 bond issue. They're fixing to borrow $100,000, and it has to do with revamping or re-upping their computers.
Oh, Jesus.
And they're putting out bids, they're asking for $100,000 bid on bonds, just to re-up our computers. So, I don't understand that unless, well, I do pretty much understand it.
Didn't the finance office just give a local, a guy that owns a local computer store a job in the finance office?
I heard that he
And
became a
that-
permanent employee.
And now he's,
Full-time.
they're wanting to float bonds to, buy more computers?
Well,
That sounds real fishy to
They have
me.
to have approval of the county commission to float a bond.
Well, the
Yeah,
county
but
commission will
the
float $1
county-
million for solar panels.
Okay.
The county commission will rubber stamp anything Jeff
In a
Marlowe
heartbeat.
or William Beard wants.
Right.
And that's what we gotta change, folks.
Well-
If this same bunch gets back in there, and you know, Cliff Jennings said that he saw no problem with Marlowe and the way things are being done down there now.
Well,
Bob
yeah, I-
Fannon's a big supporter of Marlowe and the way things are done now. And folks, we gotta change. The people, your property stands behind this debt. And if the county cannot make the payments on this debt, at any time they cannot make the payments, your property will be foreclosed upon.
Yeah, there's about 3 pages of it right now that's coming up for sale in this month. But anyhow, I was going to also mention, the county commission has decided that they're going to have this audit committee. You know, the state says they're not going to get certain grants if they don't do it. So now they've decided they're going to do it. From what I've read about the thing, this audit committee ain't going to mean nothing. They're going to meet once a year, and they're limited to what they can look into. They can't go out here and look and see where it's going. The only thing they can look into is what the comptroller sees a problem with. They can't get down to the nitty-gritty.
I think we're off.
Yeah.
We're off.
We're off.
Speak.